The floor moves before your brain finishes the sentence. Is that an earthquake? By the time you've decided it's real, you've already lost a third of the time you had to react. There is no siren before an earthquake, no red flag warning, no radar, no 15-minute head start. You get somewhere between 5 and 60 seconds, and what you do in that window is the entire video. Today, we're covering the real, evidence-based version of earthquake survival, including the popular hide by the fridge theory, whether the bathtub is actually a good idea, and what changes completely if the ground starts shaking near water. This is Earth Survival Guide. Let's talk about the disaster that never sends a warning text. How much time you actually get. A moderate earthquake gives you roughly 5 to 15 seconds of strong shaking. A major one can stretch to 60. That's it. Not enough time to run outside, grab your cat, and film it for Instagram. Enough time for exactly one correct decision, made automatically, without thinking. This is why every emergency agency on Earth teaches the same 3-word response until it becomes muscle memory. Drop, cover, hold on. Here's the fact that surprises people. In countries with modern building codes, buildings almost never pancake flat. The danger isn't the ceiling landing on your head. It's everything unsecured in the room. Bookshelves, TVs, light fixtures, glass, becoming projectiles for about 10 seconds. Falling objects are the leading cause of earthquake injury in the developed world. Not collapsed buildings, falling objects. Which means your job isn't to find the perfect hiding spot. It's to get something solid between your skull and the ceiling, immediately. Drop, cover, hold on. Drop to your hands and knees before the shaking knocks you down for free. Cover your head and neck under a sturdy desk or table. If there's no table nearby, cover your head and neck with your arms and crawl next to an interior wall, away from windows. Hold on to the furniture you're under, because it will move with the shaking, and you want to move with it, not get left behind by it. If you're in bed when it starts, stay in bed. Roll face down, cover your head and neck with a pillow. Statistically, people are injured more often climbing out of bed onto broken glass than by staying exactly where they already were. Stay away from doorways. That's outdated advice from a different century of construction. In a modern home, a door frame is not stronger than the rest of the structure, and standing in one just exposes you to a swinging door. Never run outside during the shaking. The area directly outside a building is a kill zone of falling bricks, glass, and signage, more dangerous than staying inside near an interior wall. Now, here's where we get into the part people actually argue about online. Someone, at some point, is going to send you an email about hiding next to the refrigerator instead. The triangle of life. The theory sounds logical. When heavy debris crushes furniture, it supposedly leaves a small triangular void next to large rigid objects, a fridge, a couch, a bed, and that void is where you supposedly survive. It's been circulating in viral emails for over 20 years, and FEMA, the Red Cross, and the U.S. Geological Survey have all officially rejected it as dangerous advice, for one specific, important reason. The theory assumes total building collapse, a full pancake, floor crushing straight down onto floor. That failure mode is genuinely common in countries with unreinforced masonry construction and weak building codes. It is not how modern American homes fail. And here's the part that's actually true. Not just dark humor. Wood frame construction, the built-out-of-sticks houses people love to mock, is lighter and more flexible than heavy masonry. That flexibility is a feature. It absorbs and dissipates seismic energy instead of shattering rigidly and coming down all at once, the way unreinforced brick and concrete often do. So lying on the floor next to a refrigerator in a wood frame American house doesn't put you in a magic safety triangle. It puts you flat on an open floor with zero overhead protection, directly under everything in the room that's about to fall. The fridge theory isn't insane. It's just built for a different country's buildings. In Turkey, in 2023, after 2 earthquakes above magnitude 7.5, a woman survived 164 hours in rubble, in a void exactly like the one this theory describes. That case is real, documented, and published in a medical journal. It's also from a country where unreinforced masonry building collapse is common, the exact scenario the theory was designed for. But in the United States, Canada, Japan, or anywhere with modern seismic codes, get under the table, not next to the fridge. The bathtub question. This one genuinely splits opinion, so let's go through it honestly, point by point. The case for the tub. It's one of the heaviest, most structurally solid fixtures in an average home. It sits low to the ground, and its walls can physically block glass, tile, and smaller debris from hitting you directly. If you're already in the shower when the shaking starts, emergency responders genuinely do recommend staying exactly where you are. Drop down and hold onto the tub rather than running across a wet, glass-covered floor to get somewhere else. The case against it. A bathtub gives you zero overhead cover. If the ceiling, a light fixture, or a mirror comes down, the tub's walls do nothing to protect your head from above. Bathrooms are also plumbing dense. Pipes, water heaters, and glass shower doors are exactly the fixtures most likely to crack, shatter, or rupture under seismic stress, turning your shelter spot into the room with the highest concentration of hazards in the house. The honest verdict: if you're already in the bathroom, get in the tub and hold on. Moving is worse than staying. If you're anywhere else in the house when it starts, don't run to the bathroom specifically. A sturdy table in a room you're already in beats a bathtub you have to sprint to. Now, let's talk about the version of this scenario that changes everything. What happens if the ground starts shaking and you're near water? Earthquakes near water. If you're on a coastline and you feel strong or prolonged shaking, that shaking itself is the tsunami warning, not a siren, not an app notification. The ground moving under your feet. Get to high ground immediately, on foot if the roads are damaged or jammed, without waiting for an official alert. Tsunamis generated by nearby offshore quakes can arrive in minutes, not hours. Even earthquakes far from the ocean can be dangerous near water, through something most people have never heard of. A seiche. That's a standing wave that sloshes back and forth inside an enclosed body of water. A lake, a reservoir, even a large swimming pool, triggered by the shaking itself, sometimes minutes after the ground has already stopped moving. A seiche in a full reservoir can overtop a dam. It doesn't need to break the dam structurally to cause flooding downstream. It just needs to slosh over the top. If you live downstream from a dam or reservoir in earthquake country, know your evacuation route before you ever need it. This is not the moment to be checking a map for the first time. There's also a hazard almost nobody plans for: soil liquefaction. In water-saturated sandy ground, violent shaking can temporarily turn solid earth into something closer to liquid, causing buildings, roads, and underground pipes to sink, tilt, or rupture, even in areas where the shaking itself wasn't especially strong. This is exactly why waterfront property, built on soft, waterlogged fill, often suffers dramatically worse earthquake damage than solid ground just a few hundred meters inland. Same earthquake, completely different outcome because of what's underneath the foundation. Entire neighborhoods built on reclaimed bayland have sunk over a meter in a single event for exactly this reason. If you're on a boat when a quake hits, in open water is actually one of the safer places to be. You won't feel the shaking the way people on land do, since water doesn't transmit seismic waves the same way solid ground does. The real danger for boats is what happens after: a possible tsunami and a mandatory move to open, deep water, away from harbors and shorelines where wave energy concentrates. So the rule near water is simple and non-negotiable. Strong shaking near a coastline means move to high ground immediately, don't wait for confirmation, and don't go back down until officials say it's actually over. Because tsunamis frequently arrive in a series of waves, and the second or third wave is sometimes larger than the first. Indoors, drop, cover, hold on, under a table, not next to a fridge. In the shower when it hits, stay in the tub, don't run. Near the coast, strong shaking is the only warning you get. Move to high ground immediately. None of this requires heroics. It requires the correct automatic response in about 10 seconds, before your brain has even finished processing what's happening. Which is exactly why it has to be practiced, not just watched once and forgotten. Millions of people run through this exact drop cover hold on drill every year in earthquake preparedness exercises, for one simple reason. Reaction time under real panic is only fast if the movement is already automatic. Earthquakes don't negotiate, and they don't give second chances at the first decision. But unlike a lot of disasters on this channel, this one comes down to something almost mechanically simple. Get low, get covered, hold on, and know the 3 or 4 myths that get people killed instead. Everything else, the panic, the internet rumors about refrigerators, is noise you now know how to ignore. The ground will move again somewhere on this planet before this video finishes uploading. Statistically, it already has. Now you know exactly what to do with the 10 seconds you'll get. If this episode just replaced a myth you actually believed, subscribe to Earth Survival Guide, hit the bell, and join us for the next scenario. Because the world can change in seconds, and this time, we mean that literally. Stay prepared, stay aware, survive.